Let's talk about Dr. Anthony Fauci. Dr. Anthony Fauci has to be very careful in his role on the White House coronavirus task force, in his role as the top infectious disease doctor in the United States. He's always there. He's on TV. He's at many of Trump's press briefings. He's being interviewed all the time. And he is an actual doctor, meaning that the things he says are typically true when they're within his area of expertise, which is infectious disease. That is very different than Donald Trump. But when Fauci was asked in an interview a few weeks ago, why aren't you publicly contradicting Trump when he tells his lies? Fauci essentially said, this is my paraphrase, Fauci said, you know, it's not realistic for me to step in front of him at the podium every time he says something that's wrong and say, no, no, no. And it sort of seems like Fauci recognizes that his presence is more important than contradicting Trump at every opportunity. And we've even seen Fauci in some moments express exasperation visibly. One of those moments was when Donald Trump mentioned the deep state during a press briefing, and Dr. Fauci literally facepalmed, incredulous about what Donald Trump was saying. At a more recent press conference, Dr. Fauci was directly asked, here's what the president says about hydroxychloroquine. Can you comment about it? And Trump literally did not allow Dr. Fauci to answer the question, and Fauci looked very uncomfortable. But finally, Dr. Fauci has made it clear that were it not for Donald Trump's actions, we might have been able to save people. And Donald Trump is immediately signaling that he may be preparing to fire Dr. Fauci. Let's go through it step by step. This is from CNN. Now, remember, we have to have realistic expectations about what Anthony Fauci will say. Fauci's not going to insult Trump. He's not going to say Trump failed us. But Dr. Fauci admitted, and this is something that they've not yet been clear about, Dr. Fauci admits, if we had taken this more seriously earlier, we would have saved lives. Take a look at the video from CNN.
The New York Times reported yesterday that you and other top officials wanted to recommend social and physical distancing guidelines to President Trump as far back as the third week of February. But the administration didn't announce such guidelines to the American public until March 16th, almost a month later. Why?
You know, Jake, as I've said many times, we look at it from a pure health standpoint. We make a recommendation. Often the recommendation is taken. Sometimes it's not. But it is what it is. We are where we are right now.
Do you think lives could have been saved if social distancing, physical distancing, stay-at-home measures had started third week of February instead of mid-March?
You know, Jake, again, it's the what would have, what could have. It's very difficult to go back and say that. I mean, obviously, you could logically say that if you had a process that was ongoing and you started mitigation earlier, you could have saved lives. Obviously, no one is going to deny that. But what goes into those kinds of decisions is complicated. But you're right. I mean, obviously, if we had right from the very beginning shut everything down, it may have been a little bit different. But there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
Do you think lives could have been saved? Yes, they could have been. It's Dr. Fauci. He uses non-confrontational language. But this is a big deal because Donald Trump has been insisting and continues to insist there was nothing he could possibly have done differently. There was nothing he could possibly have done earlier. No matter what he had known, had he read those memos he didn't read, no matter what, he did everything as soon as it could have been done, and nothing could have been done differently. Trump has denied the notion that if he had acted earlier, lives would have been saved, despite the reality that, you know, you don't really need to be a doctor to realize that that's not true. Also important was that Anthony Fauci said, we make recommendations. The recommendations aren't always taken. For Anthony Fauci's temperament, that is him saying, we told Trump and he ignored us. We can't expect Dr. Fauci to make direct attacks. We can't expect him to behave like Trump does. But this is a doctor making it clear recommendations were made. They were not followed. If they had been followed, we would have fewer deaths right now. But remember, on a per capita basis, it's not even close in South Korea. South Korea's population is smaller than ours. But importantly, both countries had their first cases right around February 20th, matter of hours separating the two. On a per capita basis, our case rate is 1,700 cases per million. Theirs is 205. That's not an error. 1,700 versus 205, as Dr. Fauci says. the heterogeneity of the population may be a factor, doesn't explain a 9x difference. Moving early does, and they moved early. Our test rate is 8,500 per million. Theirs is 10,000 per million. We have a 20% lower test rate. And of course, that's now bearing in mind that they were that high much, much earlier. And it's reflected in the death toll. Our death rate is 67 per million. South Korea's is 4. That's not an error. Their death rate is 4 people per million. Ours is 67. Our death rate is almost 17 times higher than South Korea's. Now, unfortunately, Trump appears to be signaling he may be ready to fire Dr. Fauci. After this statement came out yesterday from Dr. Fauci, if we had moved earlier, we could have saved people. Trump retweeted a tweet from a lady named Deanne Lorraine, who said, Fauci is now saying that had Trump listened to the medical experts earlier, he could have saved more lives. Fauci was telling people on February 29 that there was nothing to worry about and it posed no threat to the U.S. public at large. Time to fire Fauci. Trump retweeting that and adding that it is all fake news. There is very clearly little tolerance for dissension in the ranks. It seems Dr. Fauci may soon be fired by Donald Trump. I hope it doesn't happen. If we do lose Dr. Fauci, it is going to get even worse. We will see if Dr. Fauci is there today at the White House coronavirus press briefing, but it is not looking good. Make sure you're following The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman to see the start of my 2020 urban garden. Plenty of time for gardening, given that I don't leave my house. We'll take a quick break and be back with much more right after this. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. One of the things I make a priority on the show is not to perpetuate stigma for things that don't deserve it. We've talked about mental health. We've talked about many things where we should all just be respectful adults, period, and we would be better off. And Blue Chew can increase performance and give you that extra confidence you may be looking for. BlueChew.com, blue like the color blue, is the first chewable with the same FDA-approved ingredient as in Viagra and Cialis. It can be taken day or night, even on a full stomach, since it's chewable. It works twice as fast as a pill. Whenever the opportunity arises, Blue Chew is prescribed online by licensed doctors. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. You don't have to wait in line at a pharmacy. It ships right to your door in a discreet package. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And best of all, no more awkwardness. We've got a special deal for our viewers and listeners. Go to BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use our promo code PAKMAN. That's PAKMAN. Pay just $5 shipping. That's BLUE Chew.com. Promo code PAKMAN to try it totally free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice. And we thank them for sponsoring the David Pakman Show.